Chapter 25. The chapter begins telling the story of John Anthony Walker. John Anthony Walker enlisted in the Navy in 1955. So after 13 years in the Navy, John Walker had financial problems and he was having trouble supporting his wife and 4 children. He owned a restaurant, but he was struggling financially. So in 1968, he found himself in Washington, D.C., in front of the Soviet embassy. And then he had a suitcase that had a radio cipher card inside of it. And then he went inside the embassy and came out with a few $1,000s. And he was basically selling U.S. intelligence to the Russians. And this lasted for like 17 years. And he also got involved, his wife, his brother, and another naval student, and his son. And he basically tried to get his whole family involved. So throughout the years, his wife, Barbara, became upset over the fact that John was cooperating and selling U.S. sensitive data to the Russians, and she became resentful of this. And she divorced John in 1976 and moved to Maine to the town of Skowhegan. Barbara began abusing alcohol because she was worried about her children and her ex-husband's espionage. On November of 1984, she contacted the FBI office. And when she did this, she was drunk. And she reported John's illegal activities. So when Barbara moved to Maine, she befriended a family called the Bike family. That family had a daughter named Shalelle, and she was a practicing medium and a tarot reader. And she was Barbara's neighbor. So on January 1984, Barbara came to Shalelle's help. Like, she asked for a reading because she wanted to know if she should turn in her ex-husband for espionage. Barbara said that John would get drunk and call her on the phone and brag about everything that he was doing. Barbara thought about it and she decided to call the FBI and report John for suspicion of espionage. And she credited Shalelle for doing this. Because of this John Walker story, Chalel became famous, and she was interviewed by the New York Times and the Washington Post and many other newspapers around the world. She was also interviewed by C.J. Stevens, a local author. Stevens had a book, The Supernatural Side of Maine. In the book, Chalel disclosed that she was speaking to extraterrestrials at the age of 12. She revealed that she could speak with them telepathically, and they made her aware of her psychic abilities. In 1967, she described an encounter of a UFO outside her bedroom window. It was an orange light. Then she was looking at the clouds and she saw a face that was, quote unquote, long and gaunt. They told her that she had abilities unlike other people and that she would be responsible in the coming years for the U.S. to gain world peace with Russia. She also mentioned that the extraterrestrials did not want to show what they looked like because they did not want to make her afraid. She had 2 other encounters with these extraterrestrials, and they said that they meant us no harm, that they wanted the preservation of our species. So the author decided to contact Chalel for an interview. She went to visit her at her home. Chalel said that as a young girl, she told her parents of the extraterrestrial encounters, and they reacted poorly to this revelation. They thought that there was something wrong with the girl, so they took her to the hospital for examination and tests. The doctors said that there was nothing wrong with the girl, and her parents, her mother, maybe thought that maybe her issue was a spiritual issue. So her mother took her to a religious retreat. In that retreat, there was a priest, and that priest had the authority to perform exorcisms because he was blessed by the Pope to do so. But this priest said that there was nothing wrong with Chalel. And according to Chalel, her mother was a good woman, and she appreciated the doctors and the priest's diagnosis, and she began supporting Chalel's gift of being a medium.